Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining Archangel Alts. Let's get right down to it with our live market watch. This is not going to be a very long one, but it is going to be a little bit intense and important. So here we are at $102 million, 24-hour volume measured in Tether USDT. So we're representing the dollar as kind of a smaller version of what the healthiest, most accurate representation of the larger market looks like. So we're looking at rate of growth and the actual value and the actual amount of volume that is currently trading. And we have come down from 170 million down to 102. So we're crossing that threshold that Bitcoin has not been down to since it started getting a little bit of an artificial nudge in the right direction, so to speak. So I'm going to zoom out here until we see, okay, suddenly the mass consciousness realized that it was time to put $80 million into Bitcoin. Or somebody planned to put $80 million into Bitcoin. More likely the Occam's razor answer. So, happy to see that there is some gradual movement in here, some gradual movement in here. Natural stuff happening throughout. But, there are the, little indicators here and there of little triggers to sell, little triggers to buy, and then the FUD and FOMO that kind of finishes the process. So first of all, as we start to settle into this lower volume, it's not so much that, value or anything is actually going down, but it is the rate of transactions start to slow down. And also the value of those transactions start to slow down. So as you can see, it's a pretty even mix down here where I'm pointing to the volume, where we have buys and sells going on, but they're all going down in the of them. So it's not like it's just, there's tons and tons of transactions, but they're all, 20 cent changes, at $10 and $30 trades. You can see even right here, there's some rather large trades going on. Amount of BTC, 3 BTC, 1, 2, 2, 4, 1, buy-ins, sell-offs. So you can see it's not that there's no activity at all, and it's still substantial stuff moving back and forth, but the number is decreasing, which means that what's happening right now is nothing compared to an hour, 2 hours, 20 hours, 21 hours ago. So we start to, when it settles into that, you start to see that it's not, big whale money helping to kind of nudge things in a direction as things go along, which they're perfectly legitimately allowed to do. I just don't like to pretend that that's not the cause of things. So we were seeing it kind of boosting back up above 103 million over and over again. That happened here and here, and this sell-off right here. But for the most part, it does seem that it's continuing to trend down. And just like everything else that's an indicator that kind of send that message to people to freak out a little bit, when this drops below 90-something, or it crosses that threshold to where it's below 100 million, people start to think of it kind of like a countdown. How much lower can it go? How much lower can it go? And that wouldn't be the wrong thing to assume. So usually we start to see spiking happen naturally and then unnaturally, taking advantage of the shift in volume for buy back into the alt market. Speaking of which, I'm actually going to start with the ones that people expect somebody to report on first, just so that I don't forget to do that, because really in the bigger scheme of things, what Ethereum, Litecoin, and XRP are doing is fairly insignificant compared to the effect that Bitcoin and everything else are kind of the most important part of the market. Other than the fact that Ethereum's technology is boosting up the ERC20s, which is what the majority of the rest of the market is made of. That's a technology thing versus being a relevance to current trading activity on the marketplace. So thank you for joining Archangel Alts. This is Gordon Freeman, the free man, taking you from the darkness into the light through the crypto revolution. Mass adoption comes from liquidity. Liquidity comes from trading on a legitimate exchange. So just a quick recap on what that means. I usually try to sound that off at some point. But the whole point is that if you look at a marketplace like a place where buying and selling occurs, this is as legitimate a way to buy and sell the current value of a position in a coin that you like against Bitcoin. First of all, trading against Bitcoin as opposed to fiat or representation of fiat brings transactional value to Bitcoin and whatever altcoin you're trading it against or against it. And by doing so, it is the equivalent of going to your local farmer's market and supporting your favorite vendor by buying an apple or vegetables, going to your local mom and pop shop and buying something that you would need regularly off the shelf. And, yes, you get something of value. You get that coin at that amount at that current position. Your hope is that you've chosen it wisely so that the next cycle will be slightly higher than where you were and you'll get a profit. So you can see right here that Ethereum is sitting in a little bit of a low position, but even more so in a downtrend. You can see its volume has gone down at the same rate that Bitcoin's volume has gone down. And the thing is that Bitcoin is sustaining that new value a little bit better than Ethereum is. So their correlation right now, eventually if this continues, then you could technically do some Ethereum Bitcoin trading. My experience has been that Ethereum trading is very, very slow and takes a long time to be effective. And what I can show you is like right here, if we're measuring it by 32,000, that means that 320 is what's necessary to do 1%. So if we just look at, get rid of all the characters after, like right here we have 32091. So drop off the 92. So 32091, we're going to try to come up to 321 on the nose. Okay, there's 321. So now the next three characters need to be 321. So right here, we need to go to all the way up to here. Okay? Well, that's in fairly recent terms, about right there. That's actually a lot more volatility than is normal for Ethereum, and it wouldn't be as difficult to do as normal. Let me see if I can find a picture of what normal. I mean, this whole cluster right here is fairly 321, 321. So let's say there. Yeah, it's interesting how it covers more ground in a downtrend. This obviously was reflecting exactly the same thing that happened with Bitcoin. These types of trends that are very small and only on the downtrend, this is much more normal of what I would expect to see. And I'm having to reduce out to get to spaces. There's a lot of volume trading here, and yet not a huge, massively wide range. If you look at the 24-hour low and high, we have 32,083, 32,600. So that's in a 24-hour period, that's just shy of 2% in change. So very, very challenging. So I'm going to do the same for Litecoin. Litecoin, which, it did not do well from this drop here. It's, good news is it went up here. Bad news is that it is lower than where it started. So what I'm hoping that you can see is most of the reporting out there is just, I'm very sorry, but it doesn't seem to reflect people that understand the market. Good people, good sites, but the insight from it is useless. It truly is. So, I mean, anybody could understand that if you started, let's say, okay, so if you report, Litecoin has, new high, and then you report, is Litecoin dead? Okay, anybody can see that this point here is higher than this point's higher than this point's higher than this point. So it's been trending upwards for a while. Really good stuff. However, what it's doing is recovering from the valley, okay? So, yes, you can say, well, any position is higher or lower than the previous position, so if you go back far enough, you'll see, a transitional period. But, this was obviously the lowest of low points over here, and this covers an entire week. for Litecoin. We want to see whereabouts the hard fork was. Hard fork, we were already low, but this entire valley is extremely significant. How long does it take to get back to May of 2018? So coming up on a year. The good news is that we are higher than where we began a year ago. But it took all this recovery time just to say, hey, we were worth this when we started. Now we're worth this again. How long did that take? It took until about March of this year. So, I'm happy for the trend that it's doing. Litecoin is definitely headed in the right direction. But if we're looking at the trend from the minute to minute, hour by hour, day to day, people are trying to draw correlations to, hey, is the bull run on? And I would say that, things like this happen less often with this kind of spread when there's that level of confidence in the market. And I think that people who really know how to read the indication and report on that would see that we're not anywhere close into the entry point of a natural bull run. And some of the things that you should be looking for is, where is the volume coming from? The volume is not enough to support market-wide volume. There's shifts happening from one place to another. You can see it has not been good for XRP, but when this happens, people report, hey, the bull run's on. Well, it hit a low point, a very, very, very low point, and it bounced back slightly from that. But is this up? This right here, up compared to, okay, this is 410, so literally just 3 days before. Okay, so to say, XRP is seeing record gains, that certainly in comparison to this is not accurate. Certainly in comparison to this is not accurate. And if you're measuring from here to here, you go back 3 days and you can see it, this was a much better indication. If you just look at this right here, this right here is a much better indication that we had this low, and then it had a higher point from there. It looks like it could be trending in the right direction, but it's also, people that draw the triangles would show that it's kind of cycling down a bit. So, they probably would have predicted this part of it right. I don't like somebody looking at the correlation right here, and Bitcoin is trying to hold above 5,000, and its volume is dropping, and you can see that the things that correlate to that volume are dropping, and yet people are calling it the beginning of a bull run. So you really do have to be able to read the shortest of the short term to be able to understand the bigger picture implication of that. So Wabi, doing huge spiking. I have not been researching the FA, the fundamental analysis, to see whether there's a reason or if it's just a good one to start pumping. And once they did so, it's been sustaining there. But it has been having a steady up, so keep an eye there. E&J Engine Coin, really like what I see happening here. In fact, I was hoping to get a chance to show this before this spike. So, this is actual upward trend. And you can see it's quite a good recovery from, what was this, a month ago? Not quite a month ago. So, yeah, it was seeing, we were having really wonderful spikes happening. In fact, you can see a lot of these things share fairly similar sentiment from a month ago. IOST, you can see we have positions we're waiting to clear, hoping that it's finally recovering from that. You can see very similar patterns. Would love to see it be able to get to its actual peak. You can see, and it is actually a pretty important coin strategically right now. I won't go into deep details on that, but look at that spike in volume. It's crazy. This was, getting on close to a year ago. So we do not have, full recovery by any means, but this is a very strong sign in the right direction. And, if we look at going into summertime, if we can maintain some kind of upward trend this time, it's going to mean mass adoption. And mass adoption does not need to come from ETFs, from banks, from institutional trading. It does not need to come from governments and institutions issuing stablecoins. These are things that dilute the market. And if you bring a whole lot of strangers into something that is promised to them to be a steady, safe version of the marketplace, that's not going to teach people the right lesson about how to responsibly trade. So we're really trying to fill an incredible void in an unbelievably important time in history in this marketplace. Also, do not be deceived by the 24-hour change. It's a good way to look at what people's expectations are for current positions. We just recently cleared some more waves. We decided to go into some new positions. Waves really should be valued around 7,200 in its peaks, and it's down so incredibly low. I can't imagine this not being a good buy-in point, especially for people with, medium and long trading goals. If you have a lot of extra outside of your circulation that you can do longer strategies, I would do key. In fact, let me go ahead and just show these different ones that I'm talking about. For long-term strategies, and this is not financial advice, do your own research. We're not responsible for anything you do right or wrong. So here we go. For medium to long strategies, I would do key. You could jump right in at 60 and sell at 64. Lind, and nothing right now. MFT probably, I'm guessing, but let's see. Yes, MFT, 72 to 75. I am still keeping these very safe. We actually put a new one in for Encash, just to sell at 44 whenever it hits there. Everything under 50 is extremely low, so there's a lot to be made there. It's just we've got to get through these large positions at extremely low volume. But unless something horrible happens to the coin in that time, it should have absolutely no trouble getting to that position. True news. Waves, key, MFT, Encash. Avoid BTT. If the people who are loyal to BTT are right, then good for them. If they're not, then it's a horrible hang-up on things that could be going into better use for volume. ADA, I feel, is just way undervalued still. I expect to be able to see it in the 7,000 range. Of course, that's, we look over here. I personally think that it's going to double and triple. But it's a love-hate thing. The people that don't like it dislike it a great deal. So longer term, who's to say? I personally think that it's got a great future ahead of it. But not really sure. And I'm not putting a lot of money where my mouth is as far as that goes. Ion seems to me that for a longer term, there's nothing but growth. There's nothing but room for growth. The main thing is that we really don't know the longevity of any of these projects. It is a totally, new frontier, open frontier. And I don't think in terms of industry-wide, panic or regulation type things, because we know that that's the risk going in. And Bitcoin has broken, it is now the $98 million 24-hour volume Binance USDT tether, and it is still holding at 50.50. So, yes, we're seeing what I think will be the beginning of some spikes in the alts. So mark that at 1:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4/13/2019. And CELR, I still really like. It's got one line. I think that anything from the 350 to 380 range right now is fairly safe margin. Look how low these 24-hour ranges are. I mean, there's literally, just 350 to 370. It's just nothing in comparison to what it would normally be. DNT at a good low buy-in. DNT at a good low buy-in. DOC maybe a little bit too high. Yeah, I think in the 270 range is probably safer. Lots of good things. Ethereum Classic. I don't know why I have such a soft spot for Ethereum Classic, but I kind of like it better than Ethereum. I haven't been trading it much for a while, but I mean, we have had a few positions here and there in the past year, and in the past slightly more than a year, even more than that. Fuel, I still think it has some good buy-in points. I think that it is. Okay, I suddenly had this concern that I was muted the whole time. I'm so glad that was wrong. So you can see that it's sat a long time at being held down here, and that's a lot of things I noticed towards the middle to the end of summer were just really low points. Lots of trading volume just to kind of stay within that same range over here. I don't think that it's going to be worth, that 1,200, 3,000, but I do think it's fair to assume that it could, make it up to, the volume supported this range, and there were legitimate things causing this downturn. Tons and tons of fear sell-off, and, the over-exaggeration of what the ETF's impact would be on things. I think it was just kind of silly correlations for fundamental analysis when it really had nothing to do with what people were actually trading for. And most people didn't even understand, if ETF is affecting the entire market, then what is an ETF and why doesn't anybody understand what it is? So we're looking for go around this range. We got stuck at the top a little bit. It kind of got psyched out with what happened with the volume, really disappointing stuff. But I do think that it is worth more in this range. I think that we're still below what it can do. So we were just there at the, moving upwards in the 600s. And if you can see this right here, these dips are fairly significant. Still just not a lot of trading room. Bitcoin is still dropping. It's going to do that thing where there's a big spike. My hope is that it spikes more towards the alt side and less towards the Bitcoin side. The false manipulation of Bitcoin has been really, really harmful to the market overall. It's been a kind of selfish whale type process. It can be looked at in terms of, overall the swings will be good for the market, slightly longer term. The thing is that anybody that's in on anything currently already, you have to get hurt before you get helped. And I would much rather see natural processes happen from mass adoption. So speaking of which, I promise you that our news and information about what's happening with the direction of these coins is accurate. I cannot promise you that others that are quote unquote experts in the field are giving you accurate information. I'm having a really difficult time keeping my lip buttoned with some of the just really inaccurate information that's out there. Smart people that see their small piece of what it is that they're aiming towards, and I don't think that the looking for the 100x, 300x market is the bigger picture to this. I think that understanding, just in the same way that, you might go to a general practitioner to get an overall idea of your health. Does your blood pressure seem okay? We did her blood work and everything looks all right there. For women, do mammogram to make sure that there's nothing new. All these different types of things that are just, general maintenance. Car enthusiast would like, oil, checking your fluids, oil change, making sure that you have enough gas, et cetera, et cetera. But then there's the, moment to moment, day to day, whether you have a headache or not, whether you need a nap, whether you're getting proper nourishment. These are the kind of things that give you the real picture of what the person's actual health is moment to moment, day to day. And those are the things that I think matter the most in the true, real identity of the market. So, you could see these general patterns that happen, but, even within here, this is what happened in 30 minutes. So if you watched this live, you would see, the true heartbeat, the true movement of something that is living and breathing with people's decisions and assistance from bots and whales. Good manipulation, bad manipulation, just natural manipulation all going on simultaneously. So what is the overall health of the marketplace? The overall health is to be seen. People looking for the golden cross and the death cross. And, I mean, I've literally seen today a prediction for Bitcoin going to 3,000 and going to 388,000, both towards the top of YouTube. You can look for yourself. And these are the most legitimate channels. So I'm more predicting that the 97 million 24-hour volume is eventually going to, find its low point. Is it going to go down into the 80s, 70s, 60s like we saw before the Bitcoin pump that's been happening? Not a bull run. It's a pump. It's an inside pump. I promise you. I promise you. This is not natural movement. And it's not because of a good piece of news. Anything that anybody can find to support it does not support sudden $80 million of trading. There had been several weeks back $100 million worth of trading funds going into independent wallets of 1,000 Bitcoin each. So that could be a direct link to the trading group that is working on the process. And by keeping, tons of different wallets with a reasonable amount of coin to spread across different exchanges, it could keep people from saying, hey, could this be such and such a whale or that whale or this whale? Couldn't tell you. I don't know whether it's a correlation, but I don't think that there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different 10 million, 20 million, $100 million Bitcoin accounts that are poised and ready to do this kind of activity. And we do not have the mind meld hive instinct to instantly trade $80 million worth of Bitcoin, and nor do our bots. We, the people, thus far. So please subscribe, ring the bell, comment, thumbs up, get in touch with us. Go to the website. You have the link for signing up for the webinar. That is your entry point into Archangel Alts. And just let people know about us. We are here to guide you in the right direction. And, the future is uncertain, but one thing is for certain, that if this market continues to be what it is, it doesn't get shut down, the internet doesn't break, none of this is going to stay this low forever. We are within, the bottom, I would say the bottom 20% of the market. Yeah, some horribly, terribly low volatile things could happen. It is absolutely true. But the other 80% is the up. There is literally sky's the limit kind of ups to this stuff, because the proper implementation of fear and FUD in a good way can so dramatically impact the value. Bitcoin, as its scarcity model kicks in more and more, and XRP either succeeds or fails and something else comes in to enter that range. Ethereum, if there are any issues with Ethereum and its lack of having been able to pick up the necessary momentum, all of those ERC20s will find easier and easier solutions to mainnet and having their own blockchains, et cetera, et cetera. So I see less failure from projects that matter and less fall off from those that don't matter, and more just refining the process on Binance. But if you are not interested in learning to trade yourself, but you do want to get on the Bitcoin action, and you're looking for a way to do so, we are here to talk to you. Get in touch with us. You can always get me at gordon@archangelalts.com and get us through the website if you would like to. We will always have an eye open for that. We're only interested in the private investing into our trades for a very, very, very brief window of time. So thank you so much for taking a listen, for watching this stuff. And hold on for 1 second. All right, urgent message going on there. So everything is looking interesting, poised, and ready. Do not be thrown off by the 24-hour change. Other than Wabi and possibly ENJ. Yeah, ENJ is a slightly healthier model here than what we see with the others. Everything is coming up from really getting its teeth kicked in up and around here. The recent spikes in Bitcoin have not been natural movement. Natural movement is what works best for the whole industry wide. And here is one last look at Bitcoin continuing to drop. It's already fallen, it's fallen $8 million since we've been reporting, I believe, closer to 6 million. But as you can also see, it is holding its value above where this trend was over here. So yes, it is a drop from this, but it is still better. Here's our, let's just call that 4,900. This first spike had its first dip at around 4670. So this is still a positive trend. I just think it's a little bit more about maintenance with the volume falling as low. This means that if there is going to be another spike, it's going to wait until this volume is as low as possible. If the next pump is on the Bitcoin side of things, then expect the alts to have, add just another week to how long they'd have to take to recover once that pumping is done. If you don't have any positions at all, then absolutely wait and see. You do not want to go in now and then find, that it's just gotten that much further pushed down. As far as those medium and longer term trends, the really things that are so incredibly low and so likely to make those extra moves upwards, certainly waves, key, MFT, in cash. You almost really don't need to look at other choices there. But also, don't use your primary circulation of funds to go in on things that would tie those funds up. So not a very healthy market right now when everybody announces, new highs, new gains. Remember that we're still coming up from negative 27% that it has done this past week. So not exactly healthy on that side of things. But the good news is we have been clearing some really good positions. We have some IOST, some Go, and some one other thing. Yep, literally. Well, anyway, yeah, we have a couple of large positions that really got hit by this stuff right here. So, hoping that will correct very, very quickly. Overall, other than that, we've been hitting basically 100%. So, and even with those, none of those are hodls. They're just, I'm annoyed. So going to check real quick, see if anybody has had any questions. I do need to keep this a little bit on the short side, so I'm going to see. So Brajesh Sharma says, question mark? So I'm going to respond, exclamation. Says that YouTube's not receiving enough information, so hopefully there was a stream to this stream. I know my connection is really good on this side, so hopefully there was a stream there. And if there was not a stream, then, well, that's a bummer. But hopefully there was good information there. And thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell, comment, do all those things. And for now, Archangel Alts out.